I know we should start a bit earlier, but start broadcasting earlier. But I think the questions that being raised are important questions. And go to what was the separation to? The question on the floor is this. You better be able to answer, otherwise you don't know. The question is, if the woman, if the man was created spiritual, and he was separated, God took the real and made the woman have to have to put him to sleep, right? So how did he, what was his separation? How did he do it? How was it accomplished? Was it a barrier placed between the consciousness of male and the consciousness of the female? Since he was created androgynous. So, you understand what I'm saying? How did that happen?
Genesis 2:22.
That's not going to mean, what you looking for?
67, 63.
So you talking about where he says he took woman from his side?
Yeah.
You do that, and I was teaching this, and then you can do that.
Yeah. So, what you got beside?
You mean go further into it?
Yeah.
What
What you got so far?
so far is Tesla, but to go further into it, to limp, be lame, to limp, to be lame, limp, to be lame.
What's the primary root of it?
The primary Tasala.
Huh?
Tasala.
Tasala.
Limping flocks journey with the eat and with journey, usually typically Israelites.
Talking about journey, being weary.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing. Okay.
So what now? Journey of weariness?
Yeah. This is what I'm looking at.
To limp, limping flocks buried with the eat and with journey.
Okay, now, what's flocks? Flocks are domesticated animals.
Yes.
Relating to our domesticated thought, right?
Yes.
And so, and we're our domestic, it's hard for me to try to relate the domesticated thoughts. On the one hand, with Adam who's still spiritual, except the thoughts are spiritual. So did this come after he named all the animals and stuff like that?
Yeah, because what happened is it says that God brought all the animals in him, we have to name them, and then it rolled right into the woman thing.
With all that stuff. He couldn't hold. It's like, what was there for him?
See, and maybe one of those questions, you know what I'm saying? This is okay, let's say that this is man, they're spiritual beings. Because we know that the spirit is light, it's energy, right? Oh, okay. Is light or is energy, right? That we know that. So if it's light or it's energy, let's just say that this is the man that was created. Now, if he was created androgynous, right? Something like that. That would be created androgynous. Now, the question is, that I'm trying to understand is, when the male was separated from the female, how did that take place? Did it take place like this being the male and this being the female? Did that in terms of those kinds of separations? Or was it separate? Could it have been separate in terms of my being a daddy, my being a husband? You see what I'm talking about? Was it separated in that sense?
Yeah.
That's my question.
I think what happened was, when I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it from a way of how nature replicates itself, right? What I think happened was, in a sense, I think it goes back to what you said, like you having different roles, as like being a father, but then being a husband, and I think that he began to think about the different roles that were in him, or that were necessary, and I think that it caused a division of cells so that he had the opposite, you know? Like it was like a cell replication.
Okay.
So that you know how cells replicate themselves?
Yes.
So now when it replicated itself, you have two cells within they are playing two different roles. So now that one cell has something opposite or something different so that it can bounce itself off with, you know?
So what you're saying is that, okay, so what happened is that Elohim created the Adam, which is the entity through whom divinity flows, right? Now, because, well, let me put it the right way. Because Elohim created El Dama. That's who created El Dama. Now, El is God, right? Dama is fluid juice, gas. Yeah. Okay? Now, so Elohim created an entity through which you can flow.
Now look at the next word.
Now,
So he said, he's developing a template here, if you will.
okay. Now, if Elohim created an image through which you can flow, then Elohim is both male and female. Okay. Now, how was this entity through whom divinity flows separated in the realm of the spirit? How was the distinction between the two made?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Genesis 2:22 says, he took the rib from the man and then he clothed the flesh. That's why I was asking if.
Okay. Flesh, is that nature?
Right, take the man and brought her to me, took the ribs and closed up the flesh at that place.
Okay, you're 22. Okay, what you got, Sheldon? Yeah. Flesh. Oh, you must be in the New Era Standard.
Oh, okay.
You got flesh?
Another one?
No, just keyboard. The keyboard, you get it down, you don't have to hold it. Did you get it down?
I'm trying to get, I call Mark, I can't. Yeah, you said we have a different network or something? Do we have a different network?
No, his password is, truth for 2012, isn't it? Yeah, truth for 2012, TRUT.
You're not trying to get on the Blue Bible only?
You don't do it unless you get on the internet. You have to connect to the internet.
Okay.
The password is truth for, it should be up here. No, it's showing the truth there.
Oh,
Showing the truth. Use that identification to show the truth to the password. Go ahead.
Okay, metaphysically, the human race, because denotes the exterior.
What's the number? What's the number?
The number is H1320.
I'm talking for flesh. It's 1320, right? Okay, Bob. Look at that in Genesis 1320.
It says the human race.
But that's the root of it?
Oh, no. That's the metaphysical meaning of flesh. The root of it is basar, which is to bear news, bear tidings, publish, preach, show forth. To laden with good news, to bear the news, to announce salvation and good news preached, to receive good news.
Basar.
And it deals with beauty as well.
Is it 2313 you said?
For the other one, yes, for the
Okay. Oh, listen up now. You say it deals with beauty. Now, let me throw this out there. Is he, when he does this, is he balancing
It's almost like all of this is a good celebration, like this is a very good thing that is taking place. To make one cheerful with glad tidings, to bear glad tidings, to announce glad tidings.
This is I'm heading someone with all the way to New Orleans, Abraham and Cain. Because I think I saw something there, but I had to get this straight in my head first. If he's balanced, if he's doing this, separating them, right? He did not have to do this for them to replicate. Because he already replicated Shem himself. You see, with both of them. So my question is,
Why go further?
and you can keep on this one again, and then see what happens.
But I'm seeing it, I'm going to give like a simple, something I'm thinking that's kind of simple. This is how I'm seeing it in my mind, right? Because we talk about before Elohim, there was Ensof, an infinite creator, right? What I see is this. I see the creator taking apart himself and slowing the vibration down and creating another being. That's what Elohim is. It's a slow, it's a more. You say you have vibration, you slow it down and you create another part of yourself. Now Elohim slows it down and then creates another one called El Dhamma, right? Now then that one slows down and then it creates Eve. Now each time you slow it down, it's not bad. What you're doing is creating more space for free will. Because the more denser you become, y'all follow what I'm saying? The more denser you become, the more you have free will to create.
So, okay, Elohim, one and many.
Yes.
Now, the one and the many is involved in El Dhamma. So, when the template Bible is, this is less dense than this.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is Elohim is less dense than El Dhamma.
Look what you're saying. El Dhamma is spiritual fluid.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you're looking at light coming into some type of form of fluid. You can say like seminal fluid.
Yeah.
You see, you can relate this to seminal fluid or whatnot, but intelligent fluid, and then it comes down further to take on more of the body.
So it comes down to the thoughts of male and female, which is a feminine male. Female is a feminine male. And okay, if this is man, this is the feminine man, the female man, right? Okay, now, this is more dense than the one. Because it had to be compacted in order for them to be the thoughts separated. So what we're talking about then is a sense of patterns of thought being divided. Now, the patterns of thought that's being divided, if that is true, then can we look at it from this perspective? That the pattern of thoughts that are being provided, then the male thoughts would be the thoughts of provision and protection. And the female thought would be nurturing.
Although because they're from the same cell, they have both also. One just has a propensity.
A greater propensity.
Yeah, a greater propensity in one for one than another.
Right, nurturing and
So cultivation, that's the same thing.
yeah, that's the same thing. What about I had birthing. This is a good word. Okay, so these thoughts at one time, these thoughts were together. And now there is a division in the thoughts so that you can make a choice to provide, to make a choice to nurture or to birth. Am I making sense?
But at the same time, that had to occur so that there would be a doorway into physicality at some
Oh,
point.
you don't know what you say. Because if you do well, will you not be elevated? But if you do not do well, then sin will approach it at your door. Cain, the word Cain, the doorway, you see? So when you look at the Cain connected the doorway and Abel connected the breast. So what you're saying is that this opens the door for what?
For the manifestation of the divine in physical existence.
Okay, so at this juncture then, what's being laid out is a journey to the physical.
Yeah, it's almost like this right here, the divine in a sense, but it's preacher life.
Okay, yeah, right.
Even the letters and the way the letters are, what they are, how they're named, etc. Like dollar is doorway, where it comes in terms of the Hebrew alphabet. It's laying out that template. So that template is repeated in several different ways.
Okay. So my question then becomes, okay, what does the male provide and protect, and what does the female nurture and birth? Thoughts.
And the female really lots of times nurtures the thoughts of that male.
Right, so the male provides thought, the female nurtures those thoughts and give birth to them. Okay? So the separation did not come in terms of a wall of division. The separation came like a Gordian mixture.
It was a distinction of thought form energy.
Yeah, you know how you have a Gordian mixture, you shake it up.
Yeah.
Then it just flows, but if you sit down, it separates, but it's still connected, it's still the same. Still the same mixture, yeah. But it's there. So in that sense, that's where the separation took place. And it is not in the classical sense of what we mean when we say separate. It's not in the classical sense of separate meaning to disconnect from, or to be, a separate entity. Right? Now, that is okay, because no matter how much of this water mixture you get settled out, there's still going to be traces of that substance in the water, floating. There are going to be traces of it floating. So, there are still traces of the female in the male. There's still traces of the male in the female in terms of those, the chromosomes, right? Now, or the hormones. Now, so what happens is, when these two things take place, now, the male says what? That the female shall be the mother of all life. And that's...
Well, before you even get to that,
Okay.
I mean, Adam's been naming all these animals, and then here he is, still in spiritual, because I'm just seeing this part. And he says, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. It's like he's calling it into being, even though it hadn't happened yet. You see what I'm saying? They're still spiritual.
Yes.
So
So he's talking about structure.
yeah, it's like he's I mean,
He's foretelling the story.
he's deity. His creator's deity. And so he's, and whatever he called the animals, he was able to look into the essence of what they really were, to pull out, he looked at the letters that created them to know what their essence was, and that's what he called them. So it's like he's almost doing the same thing here, when he's saying, okay, now, this is bone of my bone. He's calling out that physical structure, which is going to occur further down the line, but still going to occur.
So he is exercising the creative ability that he is, as from Elohim. So the first creative thing that he does is speak into being what is to come. In terms of the structured, not separateness, but the structured distinction between the two.
Well, the first thing he did was he named the animals.
Okay, yeah. Which in essence set up a plethora of thought. And with each word or each thought or each animal carrying the essence that he imparted into it. So that is the reason you can make a dog docile or dangerous, depending on how you deal with him.
Just like we can make our thoughts
Docile or dangerous.
And also let's
Calm, pleasant,
gentle.
gentle. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. I'm sorry, but we just got into this thing.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Okay.
Detective, I'm a little lost. Are we talking about prior to his fall into the flesh? Into the congealed spirit?
Yes. Right, we talk about, we did it from the beginning up to that. Yeah.
So he's named the animals prior to the
Yes. Yes. See, what we're seeing, you remember a very interesting point earlier when we talked about what we began to lay out as we come to the separation, it becomes more dense, more congealed. You remember when we talked about the aura? That the aura is actually extended further than what we see, but it's just that it's more congealed at this area where we see it. And this is even more congealed than the aura, but all of it is the same. Because the atomic makeup of it is the same. The same atoms.
And you can kind of simplify it. If you talk about this in terms of what they were in some of these transitional states, is what we are in dream form. You see what I'm saying? You know how when you're dreaming, you are limitless, you can appear places in your mind and things like that. They were accustomed to that because in the dream realm, that's actually a more real realm than where we are. And through the process, they were coming from higher energies into something like a dream state down into this physical thing. And now we think this is more real.
And when actually this is a dream.
Yeah, this is actually a dream.
Yeah. So then we're at let me move this. Because prior to that, as you said, he says, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, for this call shall man leave his father, mother, and cling to his wife or his woman, his Isha. So what he's saying is that because this structured being is going to result in the structured male leaving the father, mother, which is an androgynous Elkun, leaving father, mother, and clinging to, becoming one with. Because the word cling is like, it gives the sense of, you seen tint put it on windows? When you put tint on windows, no bubbles, no wrinkles, right? And when you look at it, it looks as though it's one. It does not look like they're separate. It looks one. And even though the window is still clear, it doesn't appear to be clear because of tint. So the clinging is talking about something so close until you cannot see the division or the between the two. You see what I'm talking about? So there is no separation between them. So what he's foreshadowing is the thoughts being in both male and female, and though there is a, and I don't like the word division because it sounds so permanent. Distinction between the two. This distinction will come to a place, or is supposed to rather, come to a place where it is barely noticeable.
And that's why it's necessary even in physical.
Right.
Because you have to leave your physical parents in order to rebalance those energies with the other one. You see what I'm saying? Like if I stay in my parents' house, so to speak, under their thoughts and rules, then I can't cleave to joy to the point where we become like that tent in that window.
Let's take a step further. If I don't do that, then I come back in another life
To repeat it again.
in order to get to that place where I do that. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So,
Because you remain divided. So until you come back into that oneness, you have to keep coming into different life situations or to different lives until you come back and you bring it back together.
so very rarely, but it does happen, that people who are in another life together catch up with each other in this life.
But another thing to look at right here is, if you could freeze the frame, so to speak, right there. What Adam was doing right there was emulating the Creator. Because the two, what he's trying to do is, I want this woman and me to be one. So it's like he's trying to, if you could freeze the
Okay, I see
frame.
exactly what you're saying, yeah.
So he's simply doing what?
What he's doing
Part of the template that's already in
is
you.
representing Elohim. I mean, what he's not representing, what he's emulating. The one,
Even though, for lack of a better word, when he's consciously doing it, not conscious, is not the right word, but it's like a cell that replicates itself. It's like that he's trying to replicate where he came from.
so each cell, I'm sorry, so in the physical sense, when the cells are replicating, they are actually shadowing Elohim. So what's in him is creativity with the desire to produce after his own kind, the replication of it, right? So what happens? What transpires after he gets past the bone, my flesh thing, and then what happens? What is this fall?
Couldn't freeze his frame, so.
Is that we could stay with what, or what I'm seeing in the frame? Somewhere we could pick up cancers, or we sort of not wanting to dominate each other, but wanting to dominate each other?
And I'm not sure that's cancer. Depends on how you look at it.
Well,
I always go back to this. A baby is the product of the father and mother, right? You hold that baby, breastfeed that baby, love, give it everything it wants, but eventually, something in that baby triggers to want to be off on its own, to want to do its own thing. Now, it can look like rebellion and everything, that can be how it comes off, but that baby is needing to be separate to develop on its own, through its own trial and errors and everything, and it's actually it's a drive of the Creator in it, but the process at an immature level. Y'all see that? It just knows I got to do this by myself. I got to walk and eat this, chocolate. You know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. And I believe that's the fall. It's wanting to learn how to come to the Creator and operate on its own. But it's immature, so it does it in a, push off kind of way.
So fall is,
what she's saying, no, but go ahead.
but the fall is the denser, the further, the more dense it is, it becomes, I gotta do this for myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
That's for mine.
So we created, that's what I'm trying, in the sense that we created a world that's not consistent to what the Creator has for us, but one that's cancerous, where it's all about for ourselves or a certain group of people that look and act like me.
It's cancerous if it doesn't push you back towards the Creator.
That's what you're saying.
It's cancerous if it keeps you moving into selfishness.
Yeah.
But it becomes an enhancement or a healer if it pushes you back towards the Creator.
Right. Because what I kind of see is like, everybody's supposed to, everybody's supposed to first grade, this is what's supposed to learn. As opposed to allowing the creativity and the child to be what it is. We have these, we put all these boxes that they have to follow a certain path.
So what happened then, when we're talking about this thing, the actual box or immaturity is represented with Cain and Abel. because Cain talks about possession. Cain talks about a spear. It's something that punctures, that penetrates. And when you look at, you can't look at Cain without looking at what Cain did. When it talks about a tiller of the ground, it is talking about cultivating their earth consciousness, cultivating this self that will develop to a place where you seek possessions as opposed to seeking Elohim or seeking to replicate after the one who created you. Am I making sense? You understand?
Yes.
So what happens is the first thought that the male knew the female, and she bore a son. Now, this is the thing that I'm seeing then. If the male knew the female, meaning that the male became one, androgynous, again, with the female, right? And they bore them a son. The son is a ray of light. So the ray of light that he bore was them. Their thoughts, the thoughts that they were having. No, the worst comes to my bag if you want it. Is that King? That's New King James.
You don't need to get 7 computers over there.
So what happens is then still condenses more, right? Becoming more dense. When they come together, they produce a thought. And the thought that is birth is one of possession.
You know you're writing way too small on the internet.
So it's actually possession, right? That's the thought that they produced when they came together. Are you with me? So let's just hold it right there for a moment and look at it this way. Suppose the thought that they had at that point was to become one with Father Elohim again. So suppose that had been the thought. But at this point, the thought was possession. They were trying to hold on to whatever they desire. Okay? Now, the next thing what happened, the next thought that they produced was what? Abel. Breath. Life.
Was it Abel or Cain first?
Cain came first.
Cain, right?
Yeah. Abel was breath. So is this an attempt to correct an error? In terms of thought. Is this an attempt to straighten out the way they were thinking? Is this an attempt to reorder things? Is this an attempt to do that? Because balance didn't seem to come into play until Seth. Because when you look at Abel, who was Abel? What did he do? He tended the sheep, right?
Yes.
He would, so that talks about teaching. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible for the two thoughts to be connected? As in like possession of breath, like trying to take,
Good point.
you know?
They would have to be in proximity, not definitely connected, but possession. What I'm trying to say is this, that both of these thoughts were present at the same time. But they chose to lean more towards the Cain And when the Abel thought presented itself, the Cain thought dominated and destroyed it.
Is that not just like today?
Yeah.
Every thought that was ever made is in us as well. And it's up to us to not separate, but distill those thoughts. Like the woman, when she had Cain, she said, I have gotten a man-child. With the help, I have gotten a man-child with the help of the Lord. And so she is, it's still following this idea of calling that thought. Just like Adam she named this thought, man-child.
Okay, name this thought. Listen, name talks about to give life, light. She gave light to it.
And she gave life to that particular thought.
Which means that she created the essence of it.
And the man-child is attached to the ground. That's man.
Yes.
She called it. She made that decision.
So
that decision was
attached to her
Yes.
consciousness. Because right now we're still in this place of spirituality.
Two-part question. Cain and Abel, are they now physical now?
No.
Okay, so they're not.
Yes, they are. I'm sorry, they are physical.
My question is, they're talking about beginning as far as reproducing. So, who did they have sex with to reproduce? Was it with
Who are you talking about?
Cain and Abel? Was it with their sisters? There had to be some other. You get what I'm
Okay.
saying?
The scripture says, Elohim is one but many. So the whole concept of them having intercourse with others, if you look at it very closely, when Cain was cast out of the garden, he said, but they will kill me, which means that there are other beings other than them. But this story about them is told because it's representative of all beings. That's why this story is told. Okay?
Because if we look at this, what it represents is all of us. Because if you look at Esau and Jacob, what type of son was born first? A physical, fleshly minded one. You see what I'm saying? Esau was concerned about foods that taste good, hunting, have a physical time. What this is talking about is how creation, the creator of the creation is always giving us an opportunity to redeem ourselves. And when we first come here, we have a very physical nature. But it's up to us to bring out the spiritual nature of the other one. You see?
That's why the first son received all the possessions, the earthly possessions, and that has to be changed. That's what has to be altered. Because when the first son received the possessions, it's equivalent to Cain being the first son.
Can you put something out of my mind? Because when you said he's one son, I'm thinking naturally the first male.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So we are talking about
With the first male that represents the seed of the Father. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It does two things. The first son who received the possessions, when you look at that, that's exactly what happened with Cain. As Father articulated a moment ago. That's what happened with Cain. Cain, the possessions. She named God gave me a man-child, attaching him to earth consciousness, attaching him to the ground. Got it? Now, throughout the history of the scriptures and throughout the history of mankind, from that point on, it was the first son who was attached to the ground because he got all the earthly possessions. The second son was the one who had nothing, and that's why they came to Joseph out of England. Actually, populated this country because they came to make a life for themselves. But that's the issue that I'm going to get into right now. So when we talk about the first son being attached to the ground, what happens now? So Jesus is born, and he is the first son. So rather than him attached to physical possessions, he goes in search of the higher self, Elohim, which gives us an opportunity to do the same. And that makes sense.
Yes.
Now, not only does this attach the first son to the earth, but it also gives us a peek into the beginning of relegating the female to second place, as opposed to being, equal in one way. Because it doesn't talk about the female law. These are only sons. These are only rays of light. One wife. Because she chose this. What did she say about Abel when he was born?
She gave birth to his brother Abel, and it just simply says that Abel was a keeper of flocks,
See?
but Cain was a tiller of ground.
So she does not attach Abel to the ground. She does not attempt, because someone's talking about real light. So she does not attempt to shape the light. She allows the light to be what it is supposed to be. The child who develops it through his own creative efforts, but has to be guided. If the child is going to be productive in what he does, right?
And it kind of shows you too, if you look at how the scriptures flow, it shows that we give birth to the things that are inside of us. Because the birth of Cain is right after all the curses are pronounced. I don't know if y'all noticed that. It's after all the curses are pronounced, all the effects of the fall are hitting them, the shame, and now they feel trapped and stuck in kind of like just the material world and selfishness. Then in the next verse in chapter 4 says, then they produce Cain. But after they have some time to get over the shame, the separation, the thoughts about who they really are begin to come back in. And so now what they give birth to is Abel. So it's like the thoughts are coming back. They're beginning to return to who they are spiritually. And so they give birth to life that reflects them remembering who they were.
Basically, what I see in all of it is the same thing we're always talking about as far as getting love or trying to be possessive and selfish of ourselves. And once you start to give of yourself, and when you sit down, it's the same thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about the aspect of paternity cheating and what it really means. But basically, once you start doing that, that's when you open yourself up, and that's pretty much when you shut down the possession of getting possessive of material things into check, and you rule over them instead of letting them rule over you. And once you start to do that, that's when you open yourself up back to the realization of Elohim, because you all of a sudden become aware of it. So as long as your eyes are stuck in the material, it's almost as if you are blind. And so basically what it's trying to tell you when it's telling you to turn the cheek and all that other stuff that it's talking about is actually talking about to keep giving. And in your keep giving, you're opening yourself up to be like Abel instead of Cain. So you're turning yourself almost into Abel instead of Cain internally.
Okay, so when we look at Cain, it says that, read what it says Cain, when it says that, if you do well, you shall be yours. We offer your
And that's why as your countenance fallen.
Yeah.
The Lord, verse 6, the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? Why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will not your countenance be lifted up?
That means to be elevated.
And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door, and its desires for you, but you must master it.
Now, so he's saying, if you do what you were supposed to, in other words, Cain had this thought. Cain had an opportunity to change.
Yeah.
And rather than change, he killed the thought of change, Abel. And when I say killed it, I don't mean obliterate. He depressed it to the point where it had no life in him.
He suppressed it.
Yes, to the point where it had no, yes, for selfish reasons. And then what happened? If you suppress it, then the gateway will lead you to all kinds of entanglements.
Yes.
And these entanglements that you have will block the opportunity for you to be elevated, for lack of a better term. So inhibit.
Abel was the free will choice for him to obey Elohim or for him to become more selfish and unto himself just being selfish, possessive individual.
So what happens? He kills Abel, right? So the thought is suppressed to the point where it does not see the light of day, so to speak. But what does he do? It's not just that he kills him, he buries him in his consciousness. So you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So we bury the thought of oneness, we bury the thought of unicity, we bury the thought of Elohim, the divinity flowing through us. We bury it deeply in our consciousness, and it cries out. In terms of blood crying out from it, it cries out. What is it crying out saying? There's got to be more than what I'm getting.
Wow.
I want to take it a little personal too, what crying out looks like. Crying out also looks like the depression we have, addictions. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
We don't understand that our addictions, our crying out, our pain, our diseases, that is the light crying out through pain. You see, the pain is the result of us suppressing the light.
So pain is not a bad thing.
No.
It isn't. It gives us a signal of what we need to deal with.
I also see the crying out as well, and the pain is never being happy because there is never truly a person that is just only concerned with material things. It is never possible to basically feed that, to satisfy it.
Well, that's why the countenance changes. The expression changes. The essence changes.
The essence changes.
The essence of who you want to become is what's being reflected,
Okay.
as opposed to the essence of who you really are.
That's just the same. I'm keep taking this thing back to what we see every day. When the person is saddened or regretful about something, you can see that energy around them. Even if you can't see it, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Just like if you're around someone who is doing what they were meant to do in life, you want to be around that person. Because their energy allows you to feel light and allows you to feel comfortable with yourself. But when someone has things suppressing themselves that they don't deal with, you feel that energy in your stomach. You know what I'm saying?
There's always a struggle with it. Even when the change comes, even when we begin to become enlightened, we struggle with what we were. We struggle to hold on to what we have grown accustomed to. In other words, what we're trying to do is hold Abel in the grave. We're trying to keep this consciousness, this awareness of who we are. We're trying to keep it suppressed, not because we don't own it, not because we don't like it, it's because we're not comfortable with it. We were comfortable with Cain. We were comfortable with. So what do? We have people who tell us it doesn't take all of that. We have people who tell us that you will be like Jesus was in the Bible. We have people who tell us you will die go to heaven and ready to die. That kind of thing. As opposed to dealing with what really is true. That the Abel complex, the Abel syndrome, the essence of Abel is representative of the essence of Adam. Now, but it doesn't come together until we get to Seth. Look up Seth.
I want to go back. While somebody's looking up Seth.
Okay.
To bring us back to the cable with the cable.
I said that was a purely slip because
at some point we do have to combine the two. You have to redeem the cabalistic thoughts anyway. But anyway,
For my Bible, kind of alludes to them being twins.
Abel.
Yeah.
Abel. What's Abel? I want to go back to sacrifice while I was looking up Seth because the sacrifice, because what the offering was, even reflects on what our offering is today. The offering of Abel,
Dial is not available on this conference.
the offering was
Dial is not
the first fruits of the flock. And the flock represents our thoughts. It's the first fruit flock represents domesticated animals.
Welcome to the phone conference. Please leave your conference code now.
Oh,
Just because it's a child.
Please speak your full name.
Foundation.
So, what Cain brought was something attached to the earth. But what Abel brought were thoughts.
Anyone else you want to leave your conference?
Meaning his thoughts were toward the Creator. His first fruits were his thoughts, which were toward the Creator. I mean, the thought was the essence of the Creator. So that's the difference. The density, the difference is the density.
okay. Read what the verse that talks about what Abel did.
Abel on his part also brought of the firstlings of his flock.
I'm talking about before that. He was tending the flock.
He was the keeper of flocks.
Keeper. Keeper means teacher. It talks about the teach, it talks about the proclaim, it talks about the preach.
And so when he made his offering, it was the firstlings of his flock and of their fat portions. The fat portions were, I mean,
The best
choice.
The choice portion. So if
But I want to read it. So today, we have the same opportunity. What are we going to offer? And we don't necessarily offer it to say, oh Lord, this is all, but we offer it in the way we live our very lives. What we attach our thoughts to on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis.
yes.
And if we tend to attach our thoughts to physically what's going on, why it affects me this way, meaning me, you know, what someone is doing to me, versus, okay, this is really not about me, Lord, what is that this experience is trying to show me? That is the Abel offering.
That's it. Yes, I got you. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's tending in the flock. The idea of your everything that you do is geared toward mankind as opposed to you. This is not about what I feel, what I want. This is not about what I think. It's about what's going to benefit mankind. This is not about me. That's the confusion with the folks on Wall Street. They don't understand that those people are there not for themselves. They're there for everybody. It's not an individual thing. So what we begin to see with that is a shimmering of light coming into the earth that overshadows greed. Or shows up.
I want to put something else out there too. Okay, will you first?
You better believe it.
Well, because of what Barbara was saying, now it makes me wonder, what are these flocks? Are they thoughts?
The domesticated thoughts. They're thoughts that you have dominion over. The domesticated thoughts. It is a consciousness that has been cultivated.
It's the same thoughts that Adam used to name the animals to create with.
Okay, so he is, for lack of a better way to say it, he is cultivating and nurturing and controlling his thoughts. Or focusing them.
Focusing them. Yeah. Focus is a better word than control.
I see the thoughts, with the flocks, being the thoughts, being all that Elohim is giving him and in his possession. And as far as Abel tuning those thoughts for the flock, he is controlling what he's doing with those thoughts for the point of redemption. So he's doing it for mankind. Yes, manipulating, but the purpose of it, when we talk about greed and everything, is not for himself, it's for that of the redemption of mankind. And so that is what it means by he was tilling the flock.
Okay. Keep it flock. Keep it flock.
Keeping the flock.
You don't kill the flock.
I want to say something too that might be odd, but I see it all through the scriptures. when the right, because Cain and Abel are inside of both of us, and rightfully so, because we got to remember too, Cain is the part of us that deals with the material world, which is a part of what we come here to learn. We learn lessons through the material world, but what is missing is the lack of balance and the lack of energy we give to our consciousness about the thoughts and the spirit that connects everything. So when we start understanding this and we see that, because when you look at it, Cain and Abel are the same as Esau and Jacob. There's no difference whatsoever. They just represent two natures inside of us. But when we develop the spiritual, then it balances our interaction in the physical world as far as finances, as far as our relationships, as far as all that. Because we're here to connect spiritually, but we have responsibilities physically to change things in such a way that they allow other people to connect spiritually. That's the only reason we're supposed to be making money.
So we're always at the fork in the road. Always, every moment of our lives, we're at the fork in the road. And I think the reason that the scriptures, continue with not just Cain and Abel, but with Jacob and Esau and Isaac and Esau, the reason it continues with that is because we are continually at that fork in the road.
And that's the other reason for the distinction of the female energy. Because something had to give life to Adam named the animals. But at that point, Adam didn't literally create.
Yeah.
But the creation started for both of them, and she became that doorway for life.
And the womb is the doorway. It's open.
And look at Eve's name, it means to declare, to create, to manifest. So while Adam was distinguishing spiritual forms, Eve means to be able to take those thoughts, ideas, and desires and manifest them for a purpose.
Give birth to them.
That's right.
And that's why a man has to please his woman to be able to
That's why
create.
she's the mother of
Esau and Jacob, Mom, what did she do? She did the same thing he did. She did the same thing. She made a decision about which one was going to be first.
Yeah. Which one was going to be dominant?
Yeah.
I had one point of confusion, but I think you just answered it. But anyway, but I'm thinking, okay, if you've got Cain and Abel, and now that Adam has been cursed to work to till the ground, whatever, cultivate soil. So when Cain comes along, this primogeniture stuff, this is everything that Adam has to offer him. So he's the prime one who takes over that piece of whatever that Adam has to offer him. Okay, so then Abel comes along, and I'm wondering, so there's nothing left for Abel except what?
I think that both of them came along.
Mm-hmm.
And Cain attached to negative energy or confusion, and Abel sought order, light, because Abel is breath. Abel could just easily be named spirit.
So if
the consciousness is still here, though.
if they were twins, so to speak, and one went one way and the other went the other way, I mean, I can see it like that.
And it could be like that. It could be like that because you got twin hearts in your head.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying.
Portuguese, Adam wasn't cursed, his curse is the ground.
Yeah, you're right.
So, you didn't go for Adam.
No, I mean in the sense that he had to till some
Right.
Right, okay, now the curse, when you say curse the ground, it's talking about the consciousness. And curse is not a bad thing. Be thankful that he cursed the consciousness. Because what a curse does, it gives you, it separates you. And in separating you, it gives you an opportunity to look inside of you so you can make corrections. Because when someone is cursed, they are ostracized from family.
Isolated.
Yeah, so it gives you a chance, to look inside of you and to find out and see what needs to be fixed so that you can move, in tandem with the Creator.
Well, nobody in this room is not here because the ground has not been cursed.
Right.
All of us are here because something in society, something in our family, something in our parents, something in the school system was cursed, and it pushed us to look for
Isolation, rejection. You see? Rejection. Rejection isolates you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, now I see the seed of Cain's problem in that he was.
Oh, what?
After you.
I mean, I think I'm understanding the seed of Cain's problem now, because if he was the one tilling the soil and the soil was ground was cursed, he was all consumed by that and those thoughts.
Yeah. Yes.
And he allowed himself to be consumed by those
Like the
thoughts.
person who eats and never look up.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, I got it.
I was just thinking about it from the perspective of inheritance. If Cain inherited earth consciousness and Abel inherited the better stuff, it'd be like that split between lower self and higher self.
And let's try not to use the word split. It's a continuum.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the distinction.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more distinctive at the top and bottom, so to speak. But in between, there is a continuum, like all shades. So Seth, before I say anything else.
Compensation.
So what are you compensating for?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
You know what you gotta, you're going to step all the way.
It has to do with blood, to put, to lay, to take one stand, to constitute. So it's something that is actually being fortified here after the death of Abel.
Now, so if it's bringing balance, right, then that means that traces of Cain was also in Seth. You can see that.
I thought it always matter what it happened, the opportunity for life to show itself, regardless of
Regardless of what's in you.
yeah, whatever takes place.
Not only that, I'm gonna throw something out there. The opportunity is more there when you go into your worst. Do you see that?
That's right, because it said after Adam was 130 years. After he lived 130 years. So he's been through some stuff in only 130 years. He became the father of a son in his own likeness, according to his image, and named him Seth.
Now, so Seth becomes a replica of Adam, which means that it's definitely a trace of Cain in him.
Another question.
So Seth is made in the image and likeness of the entity through whom the divinity flows. You see that? And it also says something that created, that which is created from this point, from the Adam point on, is all in the hands of us. That's what it says. Because no longer does it say image like or image of Cain. It says the image of Adam. So everything else that's done is in our hands. So we can choose to suppress it, or we can choose to be elevated by it. Does that make sense? Understand what I'm saying?
Yes. Now, back in verse 25, when he first gave, first had Adam had relations with his wife again. And she gave birth to a son and named him Seth, for she said, that's before I got to the other, for she said, God has appointed me and other offspring in place of Abel, for Cain killed him.
So she recognizes the
Appointed,
same
she heard the
change.
word appointed.
So,
Yeah.
and again, the male and the female are still, I mean, two distinctions of the same body. So it's like she came full circle again. She said before, the man that I, but this time she says God has given.
That was the root of
Seth.
Seth.
The name appointed is the root of the name Seth.
Okay, so what she's saying is that Elohim has elevated my consciousness to the point where I see the value in Abel. You see what I'm talking about? So that's what she's talking about. She's talking about. So Seth is indicative of the breath of Abel. He's a replica of the Abel that was suppressed. So what happens is, instead of coming out looking like Abel comes out Seth. It looks differently, but it's the same thing.
And compensation is payment for a perceived loss.
Yeah.
Perceived loss.
But look at this, we skipped over something. It says Adam had relations with his wife again. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say that this also goes back to the point that even though we go through obstacles and sense of loss and wrongness, this is talking about them bringing themselves
Is
back
that
together.
Relations, is that yada?
I don't know. Let me see.
Yeah, okay.
And that says a lot. So it's talking about them. It's talking about, if we relate it to us, it's talking about no matter what we go through, we have an opportunity to bring the Creator back, bring ourselves back into alignment with the Creator to raise our consciousness.
But we can't bring ourselves back into alignment with the Creator if we don't have relations with Eve.
Right. That's what
There has to be intimate relationship between the male and female in order for that to take place. The oneness has to be replicated before it was separated, before the distinction was made. That has to be brought back together before you can do that. It is impossible to see clearly who you are, or to even be express the essence of who you are, as long as you dominate or as long as you denigrate females. It's not going to happen.
Denigrate yourself. Or if I do that with males, I denigrate myself.
And that's it. If I denigrate Janice, I'm denigrating me. Because all of us are one. So we have to have a image of what it means for two to become one, and that idea, the things we've discussed, for example, are in the macro. And then dude, what is the best book I've had in my life? He calls it the social field of investigation. He calls it the social field, right? But what happens is every action, not just words we speak, but our actions go into the macro, goes into the social field. So for others to pick up on. So if I'm abusive to you as a female, then abuse goes. It travels, through the social field, and other males pick it up. However,
So you need to explain that stuff when you say that.
I
don't know what you're talking about. About 4 or 5 people, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, right. Okay, what I'm talking about, when I say social, I'm talking about the broader concept of mind, the macro mind. All of us are attached to the same thoughts. All of us are the same thoughts.
And we can relate that. Look, let's translate that since you're using the term source field. What the source field is what we come from.
Yes.
Elohim is a broader, it says many, it's a broader energy of who we are that is condensated down into who we are physically. So what I'm seeing to kind of simplify this is that all you need, because let's say it's just interpersonal. All we need to be able to reconnect is to stop and remove ourselves from the power of the negative thoughts that are ruling our life, that we constantly feed. You see? Because if you remove those things, that you're having intercourse with the negativity, the self-image, your habits, or whatever, you know, if you're having intercourse with that, when you stop having intercourse with things that limit you, like they were having, you know, they were dealing with.
Talk about how you have intercourse with that.
Well, you have intercourse with your negative self-image by the things you feed in your life. And then it comes about thought, you know, let's say it's about your body and weight, you know what I mean? Now, I got an issue with my weight. I'm thinking that thought, now I'm married with the words. So I'm creating an energy field around myself. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I'm so skinny. You feel what I'm saying? Now I'm having intercourse with that and it's living because now I see TV image or somebody bigger or smaller. I'm all offset. My countenance is low like Cain's, right? Or it would be wealth. You know, oh, I don't have enough money. I see someone I think has more money. I'm having intercourse with that. I'm talking in it. I'm living it. So we have intercourse with the attention we give thoughts, and we marry it with our actions and our speech, giving them an energy field around us.
Which gives life to it.
Which gives life to it. We don't know that it actually takes a life form around it in us. Now, when we address that, all you have to begin to do is to not give it those thoughts. And how do you do that? Give thoughts back to who you are rather than those things that you thought you were. Because those are the things we add to ourselves.
That's what makes you feel so bad.
Yes. But when we go back to everybody in here, we have the power to say, you know what? I'm going to open a space in my thoughts to connect to who I really am. You see? And when we do that, and we acknowledge, we have to acknowledge the things that we've had intercourse with before we can stop. That's the biggest part. When we do that and we say, you know what? I'm going to let the intercourse with myself come back into play. We give space to where we're able to change the direction of things in our life, if that makes sense. So that's the thing. And the reason I add this one last thing, the reason that's so difficult is we are surrounded by people having intercourse with illusions by themselves. So it's difficult for us to stop because we see everybody else doing it.
And that's what makes you feel comfortable.
It makes you feel comfortable because everybody's depressed. Everybody around you has self-conscious images, and nobody's dealing with it. So it makes us afraid to open up to who we really are. But when we do, that's what's going on with them. They're having an intercourse. They're saying, you know what? We were connected to Creator in a powerful way before all of this. And we always have the power to return back to that. And when they return back to that, they birth new life. Because in Seth is the word shin is in that, in the word tau, and that's fire. Fire is shith, purification, and then tau is the completion of the thing. So they return back to connect with who they were. They produced a purification and a new level of completion in their life where they can move forward on a whole another level.
Shin,
Shin, Yod, Tau.
Shin, Yod, Tau.
No, not in the set. So it's fire. It would be. No, that's within the letter Shin. But it's fire, and then Yod is the impregnation of the divine, and then it's Tau, the completion, spiritual. It's talking about the spiritual manifestation, the Alpha and Omega. The Tau is the completion. That's why when you're dealing with the cross, it represents Tau, the completion of everything. When you get raw back to who you really were. So when they are giving birth to Shin, they're giving birth to the fire that purifies and gives birth to their spiritual completion again. It brings them back.
Those of us that are watching, I think we need to explain the letters that you're talking about.
Okay. I could write it down.
The Hebrew letters is talking about.
I'm talking about the Hebrew letters in the name Seth, because we know that in the scriptures, the letters in an individual's name represents the character of what's being talked about. So when we're looking at the letters in Seth's name, it's talking about what they began to embody and they gave birth to into the world of man and consciousness.
I was just going to add too, because once Adam and Eve came together again, and they birthed, she birthed Seth and got higher consciousness, And then it says in the next verse that it was only after his thoughts were reproduced that men then became, they were able to call on the name of God.
Read that.
Which one? Okay, and to Seth, to him also a son was born, and he called his name Enosh. Then men began to call upon the name of the Lord.
Now, but it was after Seth reproduced.
Yes. Yes, sons.
Yeah, because it had to be between Adam and calling on the name of God because of the suppression that had taken place.
So the bridges open up again.
Open up
And Seth's
gateway.
And it means too that they had to nurture that. That means, and it's no doubt that when it's like when we create some new life, like the new baby, we have to both provide and protect it, and we have to nurture and cultivate it till it becomes mature in our life and in the life of others.
Because if they hadn't nurtured it properly, then there wouldn't have been, Enoch would not, there would not be calling on the God here. So, the interesting thing, we would be called. What does it mean to call?
to announce,
To announce.
to announce, to pronounce. It's almost
Draw
like
that in.
yeah.
Yeah, to bring in, to, okay, now listen, it does not deal with a verbalization of it as much as it does an internal cry. Yes, vibrating with the rhythm of it. Okay.
I saw the other one.
Maybe she's saying. So it's what happens is we get to the place where we get back in rhythm. Now, please understand this. This is not a one-time thing from Adam up. This is a continuous process that we go through. Because whenever we do something, when you talk about having intercourse with those negative aspects of it, that's not a bad thing. But when we do that, we still have to go through the process of birthing life and nurturing it constantly. This is a constant thing in our everyday life. Now, if you can do it one time, then the only thing that needs to happen is that Jesus and Mary Magdalene came together, and now everybody's fine. No, we had to do it because it's a continuous process. So what we have to see from this point, this period, is that the gateway is open for us to begin to understand how we are to move ourselves beyond the opportunities to have intercourse with those things that bring about confusion and that make us feel bad about ourselves. We have the opportunity to do that.
I've been reading like Hebrew letters again lately. You know, sometimes you have to go to and it's all about thoughts, and so it's almost like it's preparatory for us in anticipation of all the 2012 stuff. That we've got to order our thoughts, because our thoughts vibrate and will directly impact what's going to happen and what's going to manifest physically in the world. So we've got to order our thoughts.
And that's the clarity. Know who you are. No. You don't order our thoughts doesn't necessarily mean understanding all of it. It simply means having a desire to vibrate or to be in rhythm with the Creator. If that's the only thought that you have, you're fine. Because what's going to happen when you get to when the opportunity to be depressed presents itself, when the opportunity to be angry presents itself, then the desire to be in rhythm with the Creator will speak to you, and will give you opportunity to pull back from it. But if you want to stay with it, then it's not going to dominate to the point where you can't.
And then part of the order is making the decision. I am not going to make
That's it.
I am not going to entertain it.
That's it.
And that's a muscle. That's a will muscle that you have to exercise, that very much so. I was just thinking about, too, how it has a scientific level to it too, because thoughts are light and they are also magnetic. It's in the sense that they know when you're thinking, your brain is lighting up.
Right.
And when we project the thought, it's magnetic because it begins to draw things. If you have an idea to build something, you put it out there, it draws people who can feed into it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm saying
So it draws a thought, macro, that
right.
another way to
Yes, it begins to snowball. So there's a light of it, and then there's a projection of it that magnetizes. And I was thinking about that's another level of what a man and female are. You have the thought, the energy that's produced, and then you have its drawing power. And that's why we have to bring the thoughts together so that they can create what needs to be created. And we've never been taught that, only on the level of getting jobs and careers. You know what I mean? And getting for ourselves. But on the level of, like, when we're talking about able, when we get the higher level of thinking down, then we will be able to control the type of light we're drawing into the earth, and then how we're allowing it to magnetize things to create. Do y'all see that? That's why the woman is magnetic. She draws things in to build it. The man has the idea. I'm just saying typically. You see, these both things go on inside of us. And when we raise our awareness of the power we have to do that, then we start changing the things that really matter rather than the appearance of things. Then we have the ability to draw light to heal relationships, to heal self-identity. We have the energy to bring that in and to magnetize the resources spiritually to begin to repair those things.
And all the distractions that we see right now are the distractions that are there to try to bury, just like Cain killed Abel, to kill and bury those thoughts of light. That's what they're designed to do, to distract us and make us so depressed and, okay, it's no use. Whatever's happening out on Wall Street, you can't fight government. You know, that's
And I think that's significant, Robert, that you bring that up, because the idea that those people started with 30 folk, and 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, look what it is.
Which is an example of it.
Yeah,
Someone put the thought out and it magnetizes
And
others.
look at across the country. You see, it began to galvanize thought that, no, we don't have a specific agenda, but we know we can change this.
But bigger than that, it's not unexpected. Because look at what happened in Egypt. Look at what happened in other parts of the world. Same thing. Same concept, same.
So how did it happen? Why did it happen? Because an aperture was torn in the veil, and the light came through, and it showed up the negative, the greed. It showed the lust. They saw it through renewed eyes. They saw it not with their natural eyes, but they saw the spiritual eyes and decided we need to do something. And the only reason people were drawn is because they also saw it. The exposure was visible to them also. Now, I read a prophecy from the Hindu, what is it, the Bhagavad Gita. I read and it talked about in the end time, not end time in terms of everything ended, but a beginning. It talked about how there would be earthquakes and floods and other natural disasters, and men would turn against men, and those who are at the bottom would rebel against those who are in charge, and governments would fall. This was written hundreds of years ago, not thousands. And that's exactly what's taking place. Jesus says that father would be against son, or mother against daughter. And there were wars, rumors of war. Same principle was involved there. And then you will know that at the end of time. Not the end of time in terms of everything coming to an abrupt halt, because if that were the case, let's just start it at the end. Then we don't talk this anymore. But that's not it at all. What he's talking about is end of time as we know it. So So all of these things line up, and the idea of 2012, I do believe that the uneasiness, the lack of sleep, the things that we're seeing differently than before, these are the things that we are experiencing prior to 2012 because someone has to be there. Someone has to have gone into the land to spot the land out, the consciousness, in order for the people to be comfortable about crossing the Jordan into the promised land. You understand what I'm saying? Someone has to do that. And the someone who has to do that is us. Are we all that? I don't know.
Questions you for when you leave.
Yes.
So it's the same thing as having birth pains and what we're experiencing?
Not so much birth pains as it is pains that would cause us to drop some stuff. That's stuff though. We don't need. You can birth something, or you need to. Paul says when you talked about taking off all this stuff. I forget what you're talking about. Yeah. Those are the things that brings pain too, because you don't want to quit.
Wouldn't that be a little placenta washing out afterwards?
No. This is much more difficult. When the placenta, when I'm talking about placenta washing out, you're talking about bringing something into the bed that you're going to nurture. I'm talking about getting rid of something that you don't want to get rid of. That you want to, if you didn't like it, you wouldn't have it. If you were attached to it, it would have been gone, whatever it is. So letting go of things that you've grown accustomed to, letting go of concepts, dogma, principles, ideas, thoughts, people, things, attitudes that you've grown comfortable with. Let those things go. That's what I'm talking about. That's when pain comes. And if you don't let them go, you never will possess them.
Well, it's not comfortable.
No, it's not comfortable. Not at all.
I mean, but you just say things, well, I know there are things that we are uncomfortable with, but the things that I'm dealing with, the thing that I'm dealing with is not comfortable.
And it is comfortable. You're comfortable with it, but you ain't comfortable without it.
Say it again.
You're comfortable with it, but you're not comfortable without it.
You know that demon, and you want to hold on to it. I don't want it.
You're comfortable with it, but you're not comfortable without it. Here I am, okay? Okay? I don't need this woman in my life.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with her,
Okay.
but I want her in my life regardless. You know, I feel like I need her.
Yeah.
And she should go. Now I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. Why it hurts so much? Because I'm more comfortable with it. I've grown accustomed to it.
Yeah.
Now, it might be that I don't need her in my life at this moment because she has become a hindrance to my life. Or she has become the Elohim, and I can't see Elohim anymore. So it pains me to let it go, but I have to in order to get to where I need to be. I am in the church setting where tradition is paramount. I'm very comfortable with it. I'm good at it. I'm being elevated on every turn. But I know I need to let it go, but I don't want to. It hurts to let it go. And I went through 7 years of not preaching to anybody else's church other than a friend of mine in South Carolina, period. When I used to preach 3 times a Sunday. That hurt. But I had to get to the place where it no longer hurt. And when it no longer hurt, doors opened across the country. Are you with me? So that's what I'm talking about. You're so comfortable with it until the pain for the let it go.
So chicken and the rest was right. Like another little TKO. I mean, anyway, I got you.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, you know, so much And I just think about just observing life, and people observing life. We really believe that we have to keep on to certain, all of us think we have to keep on certain things because all we know is other people who've been hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's been passed down to us that being hurt is normal. And so in that us accepting and being hurt, we attach to certain things to hide that hurt. And we don't know what it is without that. Straight up. And that's why, like, for myself, in the past, I'm probably like 4 months, I'm on the mode of addressing everything. I don't even care. Address everything, because I notice every time you address everything, there is a power that comes out that nobody can touch any longer. And we don't know that power. And it's a power for you to be able to constantly give no matter where you are in your life. You know what I mean? Can you imagine that power where you never, can you imagine a power where you never feel like love is limited or you're getting exhausted from giving for fear somebody's going to take advantage of you? We don't even know that. We don't know what it's like to just be ourselves and feel an energy flow to always give. And the reason we don't is because we hold things in our life that we attach to hide our pain. And I'm like, you know what? It's so much more life out there than that. And we be afraid of how people will react if we address our pain. We be afraid of how we'll be if we let go of our attachments. But to address those things gives us a power where we walk in both worlds and draw energy from both worlds, spiritual and physical. And my mode, personally, right now, is to live that to the fullest, so that my son and wife only grow up seeing a man who addressed everything that came up, that limited them, and so that they know all their life should be about is accessing power divine and living a fulfilled life, and not hiding pain or being afraid of the stigma, you know what I mean, of different things. That's what we got to do now. We got to change the way we addressing all this stuff to be like, you know what? Hell, we can't go backwards. You know, we can only go forward.
We don't know what pain is.
Yeah.
You know, we don't. We know what we identify as pain, but we really don't. The thing that we embrace that we don't need, that's pain.
Yeah.
That's pain.
Say that again?
The thing that we embrace that we don't need, that's the pain. It's only manifested when it goes. That's the pain. When you start this journey, you meaning all of us, this journey. When you start this journey and you declare that regardless of what it takes, I'm determined to stay on this journey. That is when the things that you love the most, and I put them in quotations, of course, began to be challenged. That is when the emotions that you hold the strongest began to be challenged. All of these things began to be challenged. And the pain is not what you feel, it's a manifestation of what you need to turn loose of. It's a pull. The pain is actually a pull on you by what you need to let go. I truly believe that you really don't have anyone or anything until you let it go. You don't have anything or anyone until you let it go.
Yeah, that's
And if you're free cage bird and you come back to you, he belongs to you.
That's all the love is.
That's all. I'm going to tell you something. I have experienced, since I've been dealing with this that we're talking about, I have experienced love at a depth that I have never known. I have experienced the oneness at a place that is seemingly non-existent, where it was non-existent until the experience. The thing is this: we have to stop charting our course because we don't know where we're going. We have to stop anticipating what we're going to experience because we don't know what we're going to experience. If we knew what we were going to experience, we wouldn't have to take the journey. We are already there. We don't know what we're looking for. We don't even know what we look like when we look like, I mean, when we see what we look like, we don't know. It has to be revealed to us that, hey, this is what you look like. Does this make sense?
When speak of love and energy, and we're going back also what you were saying along with what you were saying, when you actually try to hoard it, regardless of this for reasons of being hurt, etc., what you're actually doing is that limited amount of love you're trying to keep yourself. In doing so, you're cutting off all the other limited energy that actually exists. So as you begin to share love, what you're actually doing is you automatically, I guess, the physics of spirituality, how it actually works. For the love that you are willing to, you wanting to actually share, it almost like it has to be released to you by law. And so that's why you experience the depths of love beyond what you have ever experienced before.
Yes. And you can't tell someone how to love you.
And
You can't mold, you can't shape that. You cannot determine what somebody loving you looks like. You can't do that. The idea of deference to them is what allows them to love you the way that you not need, but the love that you're drawing. The magnet that draws it off, it allows it to attract it. But if you try to determine what it means for them to love you or how they should love you, then you are not only limiting it, you are inverting and destroying it.
and diluting.
Diluting it, and it's an illusion anyway. You have false feelings. So you can't tell people how to love you. You don't know what it looks like. What you do, for example, you say, if you love me, you have done it with me. If you love me, you buy me some shoes. So your love is predicated on my buying you some shoes? No, if you love me, you will let me be me. You will give me the space to be who I am and not change how you feel about me as a result of who I am. Give me that space. Now, if I say I'm going to give you that space, I'm always walking in that space, I have done a thing but lie to you. But if I say I'm going to give you that space, then how do I give it? I may have to give it by being away from you physically. I may have to give it by allowing you to make decisions that you once put on me to make. You don't know because everyone's different, situations are different. The idea of doing this has as an end result of bringing you closer than you've ever been in your life.
So do we go to the
Did you raise two hands?
Yes. I need to. I need family. So do we? So
Go ahead.
Is all this a result because we do not love ourselves? Because honestly, I'm having that problem.
Okay, can I respond to that too? Real quick. I'm just
The problem is, I feel a sense of not. Y'all have to quit laughing. I'm having a problem of feeling love, and it's really bothering me.
Okay.
And I know it's not for me, it's for mankind, period. I'm having this problem, and I want it dealt with.
Well, let me say this first. Whatever that problem is, it needs to be dealt with immediately.
Yes.
So I want to say that before I go into what I'm going to say. That needs to be dealt with immediately. Because I want to say this is taking me off a bit. Whenever we bring something up, the way the Creator works through us, if we allow it, is we should address that problem. Because the thing is, we are afraid to say we have that problem. And when we're afraid to say we have that problem, we walk around like it's okay. And when we walk around like it's okay, that problem creates circumstances that always reminds us of the problem that we didn't want to acknowledge.
It grows.
It grows. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
None of us in this room are free of that because we come into the earth to constantly address those things. So I just want to say that first. The only other thing I want to say is that, and I think I already said it, when things occur in our life that bring that feeling up, it's just an indicator of what we have to grow in. And it gives us an opportunity to expand into an area where we have not before. And that's how everything really works. But I just wanted to go back to the focus of we have to get back into a place of engaging what you're talking about with each other directly so that we can stop having an environment of hiding that stuff. I'm on some tip right now. Nobody should be hiding nothing. If you walk around sad all the time, you need to come out and be like, yo, I'm sad. Let's get this fixed. We need to get into that stuff and reverse it. So that's all I want to say.
Now, the not love itself is because you don't perceive lack.
Yeah.
And the question is that you are feeling the way you are because you have to find what love looks like. See, how many times have you
Or
heard?
has it been defined?
Either way, yeah, you bought into it. What is it supposed to look like? You know? Everyone don't express love the same way. If, and this is very simplistic, okay? If I open the door for Audrey to get in the car, and I don't open the door for Audrey to get in the car, it doesn't mean I love her more. You see, but we have allowed people to define these actions, or we have defined for ourselves that we see as being representative or indicative of how much somebody loves me. It's not how much, because love cannot be quantified. It is us stepping back from it enough so we can get away from the definitions or the images of love that we have perceived. When I said earlier that I have experienced love at a deeper depth than I've ever, it is not because I defined it. It's because I let it go. And in letting it go, I did not determine who's supposed to love me, how's supposed to love me, and did not predetermine what the result of the love is. I just stopped. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. It takes time. But I had to keep talking to myself about if I don't feel loved, and I've been there, I've lived with rejection for a long time. And rejection is nothing but not feeling loved. But what I've done through that is talk to me about who I am. And talk to me about, regardless of what you feel, you are loved. And I've even said to myself sometimes, no, I love you. Or, that's how I felt. But because of conversations, because of intimate experiences, I began to understand that my not feeling love doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that I don't know how to accept it. If I express it to you differently than what you accepted, then that's you not knowing how to accept it. You see?
Yeah.
Am I making sense? It's like the difference. I remember when I was in college, and one of the things that I saw was females are more accepting of one rose with no occasion than they are of a gift on a special occasion.
Yeah.
You see? So those are the earthly things that I began to see. And now on a spiritual, higher places, I don't like the word level because it carries wrong connotation. But in this spiritual place, I began to see that the feminine energy is expressed better, or the essence of it is recognized more when you defer to it. If I can defer to a female naturally, then it's easier for me to pay deference to the feminine energy, because it all starts in the physical, where we are, and it has to move into the spiritual. So rather than accepting the feeling of I'm having a problem feeling love, right? Rather than accepting that, do you remember talking about earlier how you marry that? How you have intercourse with that, and the way you have intercourse with it is by repeating it. And you're constantly repeating. I don't mean constantly every minute, but doing it repetitively creates the feeling that you have that brings you to tears because you feel separated.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
So what is the illusion is I don't feel love. But the truth is, I'm created like the creator, the spark of divinity is in me. And the creator is love. So I am love. Therefore I am loved. I am love. So I am loved.
No, it's your question.
Well, I was gonna say, when I was walking one day, and what came to me is, stop looking for love because you are love.
Right.
Okay? So, I heard that, but why am I still, and I know how we say, you keep, there is no lack in your
I
life.
have to accept it.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's just the same thing as when you have to talk about source building, and you even look at it as far as any ideas that you want with. Those ideas are already in your head. You have to make a choice to do what you want to do. So even going back to Cain and Abel's mother, all these things were already in her. She was just choosing whatever it is she wanted to manifest. So instead of just hearing it, what you have to now do is you have to make it a point. You feel a lack of love, because you feel a lack of love, that's going to affect how you love other things as well, because you feel as though you're going to lose it. So make it a point of yourself to love everything and give as much love as you can possibly. And in doing that exercise, you see that an abundance of love already exists for yourself, and then it gets to the point where you realize that you're already loved. But it's only going to come when you start to give that love. It's the same thing we're talking about possessions. Once you give something away, it's going to come back to you, but you're not going to realize that until you give it away and keep continually giving it away.
Well, honestly, that's what I thought.
When we talk about defining love, love has really absolutely nothing to do with actions. The only thing that is what people have begun, all of us at some point begin to believe. Love is a feeling. So, for example, you don't, I'm not sure if people realize, but you can actually go, for example, an animal, let's even say a dog. That dog is doing nothing for you, but you can feel the love from that animal. You can feel the love from an animal that you've never seen come in contact in your life. You can actually feel it with a bird that is in the tree singing or something like that. So just, that's what we're talking about. Don't put any definition on love. Don't say, well, so-and-so didn't do this, or so-and-so didn't do that, so they don't love me, because that is just a trap, like a horrible trap.
You got the history. You were walking, and you heard this come to you. Where did it come from? You see? So you heard it. The history is this. Every time that feeling comes up, that you don't feel love, remember the history of the walk. You were on a physical journey. You were walking. And during this journey, this is what came to you. It had to come to you for a reason. You did not express it, but I bet you wouldn't even think about it. I don't feel love. It just came. Because if it had come during that period, you would have dismissed it as you talking to you, as opposed to the higher self telling you what you need, what you expressed. It's coming up, so this is what you need to handle.
Okay.
Just repeat the history.
Okay.
Repeat the history of it.
And that what you brought up, that's for all of us.
It
The
is.
issue when we come into this earth is to learn how to love ourselves. It's not to get married and all that stuff. And those things should be products of us learning how to love ourselves, you know. And the other thing I want to say, just from my own experience, is that when we start to engage in feelings of not being loved, and when we begin to identify with the fact that we are loved and we are loved, what it also does is it allows us to take away the power we utilize every day, like electrical wattage, to create up particular walls. You see what I'm saying? Because we create a lot of walls to not receiving it, and we create a lot of walls trying to keep and hoard love in it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when the more we start to identify, Creator brings us situations and you realize, oh, I don't have to keep that wall up. You see what I'm saying? That wall I have all this time trying to protect myself, I don't have to, like Sheila said, there now, I give. And I don't have fear. I don't honor any fear about whether a person's going to give it back, whether they're going to mistake it. It doesn't matter because I trust that the Creator is the one prompting me to give it, and that's what's going to protect me. And so even if they don't recognize what I gave, I keep moving. And because now I didn't have to keep that wall to protect myself. I didn't have to divulge all that energy to create a wall to protect myself anymore. Because those walls is what keeps us from feeling love. And we don't know we build them throughout lifetimes. We build a lot of them trying to protect ourselves, you know. So when we start doing that, we start realizing you be put in situations, hey, I don't have to protect myself. I'm gonna, you know,
It makes you selfish, you know. It really does. You know, jealousy is selfishness. The idea of when we say I don't feel love, it's like everybody else doing it, I don't. The other side of that coin, it's like I can see it because you're comparing to what you perceive it to be in other people. Is that you understand? That's what you're comparing it to.
Really?
Yes. Either consciously or subconsciously, because you can say, I can see other people being loved. I wish I could be loved like that. How do you know what that is? Because there's a guy who I know who everybody was like, man, I wish I had a man treat me like that. Publicly, he was great. But behind the people, man, when you know, so you don't know what's going on. So what you deal with is not suppressing it, but recognizing what you're experiencing and dealing with it. Because when you deal with it, and I would venture to say that the reason it had to come up is so that we can make preparations to deal with those same instances in our lives, be it feeling unloved, be it feeling uncared for in terms of finances, friendships, social, all these little things that keep cropping up. So it's not just for you, as you said, it's for mankind. The other thing is that when you say that is love, usually we equate I don't feel love to male-female relationships.
Yeah.
We do. We do. We don't talk about it. You know, there are instances when we say, I don't feel like my mama loves me, I don't feel like baby, that kind of thing. But most of the time, we relate them to male-female relationships. And you had something to say about that.
Not to be a relationship.
Okay. And so what happens, and when we relate them to male-female relationships, it's simply because they're not doing what we expect them to do.
You said expect them.
Expect, yes.
I do have something. When it comes to what we expect, the way to do away with definitions, because to be honest with you, love is already there. It's just not recognizing and realizing that it's there. And that is because the definition is there. So to really experience love, what you have to actually do is just show an appreciation for everything that's in your life that you're actually happy for. And that includes other individuals, etc. By doing that, what it's going to do is it's going to make you stop expecting or thinking or consciously thinking in your head, I am not loved. The only way that you're going to all of a sudden realize that you are loved is to not be focused on what you think love is. Because as long as you focus on what you think love is, which is a false love, then you're not going to realize the real love. Because how love actually, and I know Jamil and Pastor can relate to this, when they realized that they were love, all those loves was around, etc., it was all of a sudden like, wow, it just came upon them suddenly, and they didn't know it. You know, they didn't notice it, just all of a sudden one day, it's just, wow, they just, all of a sudden, it's almost like took inventory, where did this come from, or whatever. So, with it being that, this was not something that they were actually expecting to come, because that's what we're talking about, not having a definition or a frame of reference for it.
Well, why don't you just say it too?
Well,
I have too, but the only reason because the only reason I said that is because they just recently spoke about it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking about with the examples that they just gave. I'm just basically explaining what they actually experienced. What they actually experienced was not always.
So excited. Oh my God, so excited.
You love me? Hold on. You still love me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to notice something. The primary speakers or addresses to the issue of the male. And it's because the issue that most females face with not feeling love is projected by males. And we have to understand that I want you to understand, all of us to understand, that projections are not always real. The only thing that is real is that you are loved. And as Bob said, and because you are loved, you are loved. So, the other thing is that when we begin to look at love or the lack thereof as we see it in a male-female relationship, it's usually because they don't touch me, they don't do this for me, you know, define them again. See, how many times have you been touched and not touched? Touched with the eyes. You see, the look, you feel it at a depth beyond a physical touch. So the provision is not just a roof, food, clothing, etc. That's not the provision. The provision is making space for the opportunity of love to flow both ways. And if it does, if you perceive that it's not, then the thing that you nurture is a lack of love. And then you give birth to that pain. You see?
Yes.
So if you nurture who you are, then the magnetism of love will joy. Because I'm telling you, a male, if you let that love express, it'll draw the provision. It'll draw the protection of the love. And it's expressed in a physical way too. Men are drawn to females based upon how they present themselves. And that's just in the physical, of course. But if you can't, if you don't understand it and deal with that, it's much more difficult to see it in the spiritual, because you have to see it with your eye, as opposed to seeing it with your natural eyes. And that feeling I was talking about earlier when your eyes meet, that's seeing it with your third eye. That's what you feel. You can't articulate that feeling. Tell me what you feel like. You can't, there are no words to describe it. But you know what you feel.
Yeah. Well, the word comes to mind is free.
but you know what you feel.
Yeah.
But if you put that wall up there, meet the lack of, then you determine who you feel it from, as opposed to drawing from everyone.
Because when we were just talking a little while ago, we were talking about love being space and accepting anyone for who they are, that even means that if all of a sudden you find something out that you never knew, you still love that person. Well, that entails not expecting that person to do a certain thing, because you expect that person to do a certain thing, you're saying that I only feel love when, or this is only love when you perform these certain actions.
Traditional love.
Yeah. And you can't, would you love the person if they were broke? Would you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm just doing that generally.
Oh, you went to tell me.
Another question is, do you feel, and a lot of females do, and a lot of guys take advantage of it, do you only feel love, do you only feel love if a guy performs certain physical things, whether it's open the door, or whatever it may be? Guys do that all the time. They just perform those acts or whatever. There's no love. He's just doing it to give you a false sense of love. So that's not love. Anyone can perform some actions to just get what they want.
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, I mean, you think about it this way. When people were younger, that's what they did.
People, huh?
They found out what the feeling like, and that's what you like. And it's okay for 5 minutes.
That's all.
And we're not the only one. I don't feel that sitting like this thing. And what you do, you play like you don't know she's scheming. And you just follow the trap. So what I'm saying is that we have manipulated this for so long and played games with it for so long until that has become real to us.
Yeah.
As opposed to the realness of it being something that you experience, as opposed to something that you see acted out.
Yeah.
It's an experience. The depth of this experience it's not played out in the bedroom. It can be played out just as easily in a classroom or a coffee shop.
Yeah.
It's not played out in the places we think it is. If it's not there, it's not played out in the bar.
And the thing
It has to be there before the walk.
The thing about love, when we talk about love, we talk about physical acts. Love actually takes place or exists apart from one another too. So there can be no contact whatsoever, and love exists. So with that being said, that automatically takes the act of something physical taking place out of the picture, because it's not necessary.
Did you hear that?
No.
Say it again. You heard that text?
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
I was saying that love can take place across the distance and being separate from two physical entities, and they do not need to be together for there to be love. And so with that being said, that means that it is not necessary for anything physical to take place for love to exist.
Well, I know it's not about geographical location.
So that automatically takes out love having to be anything physical. Especially when you have, for example, you have love of mankind that you may physically never come in contact with. So even I always use some indigenous person in Australia or in South America or something like that. You have love for them just as if you have love for a parent or a child. Love across borders.
Well, I'm I'm grateful that we had this conversation because I do feel better. I really do feel better now. I do. But apparently, this is, again, like I said earlier, it's not for me, just me. The weight that weighs on a lot of people. And I'm glad we addressed it. And you know, y'all know me, I'm real, I can't be but who I am. So I'm just grateful that I have foundation, family, and those who are not here in my life, because we all deal with so much stuff and we're not honest about it. And it's a weight that it's like, it's very heavy.
That's the killer. It's just lack of honesty. That's it. I mean, you could tell all these churches now, people start being honest with each other for the purpose of growing up. All these churches, you can burn them all.
It'll go right back to where it was. No separation between.
That's fine.
There's no separation between God and nature. All of it is one. When you get to that place, I mean, you have to. I saw a hawk. We were in Florida, I was on the golf course, and I saw a hawk dive into a tree and come out with a squirrel. I ain't never seen anything like that. I seen you pick up, grab some ground. But he dove into that tree and came out with a squirrel. And the first thing I said was, a squirrel ain't safe at home.
Yeah, nowhere you go.
But then he flew to the other branch with the squirrel, and the other hawks came. They dove into the tree where he was trying to take him. And just as they got almost to him, he took off. And they landed on them, and they're like, wait, what happened? Now, I'm standing there watching this play out. And my first thought is, as I said at home, my next thought is, oh my God, I sure wouldn't want to be that squirrel. But my very next thought was, that's what balance is. That squirrel is here for that purpose.
Yeah.
It was just his time.
Yeah. He did what he needed to do. What's wrong?
But my point in relationship with what we're talking about is that I actually felt an emotional attachment to both the hawk and the squirrel. I actually felt what the hawk needed in terms of nutrition, but I also felt what the squirrel was experiencing. Well, but that's when we get to the place where we are constantly attached to the Creator, to each other, to nature in that manner, that we feel that same thing even for a tree.
Was that same thing as a message?
Tonight, tonight, this is clear sky. Walk outside on your back porch in the front yard, whatever, and look in the sky and realize and tell yourself that you're part of all of that.
That's what's in you.
That was like mind blowing. Riding over the night coast here to London, and you can see all the stars in the sky, very light in here in Columbia, whatever.
Yeah.
Even with the little light on the plane, and just looking in the sky, I was like, wow.
It's so clear.
He tell me to go outside my back door and I open the plane.
Just realize that you are part of that, like, that is you. Just realize that.
You know what's going to happen? You begin to feel the energy of it.
Yes.
You will. You begin to feel the connection.
You will feel light. All of a sudden, you will realize that you're not in your yard anymore. You will feel yourself larger than the earth itself.
I mean, we call each other, look at the moon. I mean, because of the clarity of it and how close, remember what was doing in May, March, when the moon was closer to the earth. I mean, that was an experiment. And it wasn't right there. It wasn't an experience like astronomical.
Yeah, you have affinity for these things that you look at as you look at it. You're just not looking at it over that moon. You have an affinity for it.
Yeah. But, okay.
Well, I have some last to share.
Okay.
I was looking at treads and Jamila, she used to look like you letters. I appreciate that.
Yeah. You see how you want to do that? Don't you call a silent foundation? Okay, here we go. Let me tell you something. If this discussion is any indication as to what to expect on the 11th, I want to reach out and pull the 11th in a few minutes.
Oh my goodness.
I'm serious.
November 11th.
Yeah, November 11th. Yes, thank you. Next week. I'm going to be, however, probably, let me see, I don't know, it might be on the phone, it might be not, but anyway. We are going to, I've already got an indication that other people are coming to be here. And there are some people in the upstate who has.
You're not next week, but you.
I'm sorry, 11, October 11th. November 11th. November 11th, I got an indication. Are you 11?
Yeah.
November 11th. There are some people who already said Saturday morning, if they were not able to get here, they're going to come together in one place to be observers. So,
On Saturday?
that's Saturday, yes ma'am. It's going to be Saturday from 10 to 12.
And when are we meeting on the 11th?
That's one of the places to ask the question. Because Ron, Kathy, and Linda informed me that they have already taken off work for the Friday, so they're off all day. So my question is, I guess what I want to know is, if you're not, then we do it that evening. If you are, then we start at midday.
We do whatever.
We gotta work, okay?
How long is it till 2:30?
Oh, okay, that's midday. So we can deal with them that, like 2, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
You can do it 3 o'clock in the morning. You later, don't you? On Friday? Okay, you did 3 o'clock? Okay, so that's what we do. On Friday, it's 3 o'clock. And, what about you?
I'll take off by that too.
Okay.
If I'm still working.
Okay. At 3 o'clock. Somebody needs to text me, remind me to mention that tomorrow, too, okay? Like sometimes just text me. Because usually what happens, if I get on the flow, I don't talk about stuff after that you leave.
So November 10th, 3 o'clock with the
November
teachers.
is 11 at 3 o'clock. 11 on Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The
I thought it
12th
was
is
Saturday. Okay.
No, 11 on Friday. So you're laughing with Audrey at me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I knew what day.
When are you going to DC?
Thursday.
This Thursday.
Thursday coming up. Thursday. Okay? Is that it? Okay, well, bye everybody. Telephone people and it's